You know that feeling when you sacrifice everything for someone, only to find out they've been laughing at you behind your back? That's exactly what happened to me. I thought I was being a good stepmom, helping my injured stepdaughter, but a shocking phone call revealed a betrayal so deep, it blew our entire family apart. And trust me, you will not believe the twist. It all started a couple of months ago. My stepdaughter, who's 22, twisted her ankle pretty badly. She'd been living away from home since college, working and generally doing her own thing. We've known each other for almost 5 years, and I've been married to her dad for 3 of them. When I first came into their lives, there was some friction. Her parents had only been divorced for 2 years, and she wasn't quite ready to accept that her family dynamic was changing. But eventually we got past that and things seemed fine until recently. A few months before the accident, she and my husband had a massive fight. He told me all about it. Basically, she was taunting him, comparing how he acted with me to how he treated her mother. She accused him of ruining his first marriage by being stubborn and indifferent. Now, here's the thing about his past. My husband was a workaholic.
Why?
Because his ex-wife was a massive spendthrift. She wanted this lavish lifestyle but didn't want to work for it. So, my husband worked constantly to keep up, but then she'd complain he wasn't spending enough time with her. It was a vicious cycle. She even borrowed money from her family, which just made my husband a target for their taunts. Eventually, it all fell apart, and they divorced when their daughter was old enough. But when he met me, things changed. He absolutely isn't the workaholic he used to be. He's home, he's present. I honestly don't feel neglected at all. So, for his daughter to blame him for his first marriage failing? It just wasn't fair. Her mother played a huge part too. That big fight ended with my stepdaughter basically cutting us off. She stopped visiting, tension was high. Then came the twisted ankle. She needed care. Initially, she was supposed to go to her mom's, but her mom was supposedly on a work assignment and wouldn't be back for a month. My husband told me about it and I felt bad. He even offered to hire a nurse, but I insisted on taking the night shift at my own job, so I could be there for her during the day. I genuinely believed that if I stepped up, spent time with her, it would fix all the problems we'd been having. Oh, how wrong I was. A couple of days later, I came home early from work. The house was quiet. I was about to go check on her, when I heard her voice. She was on the phone and she was talking about me and my husband. A few seconds later, I realized she was talking to her mother. And get this, she was referring to us as fools and idiots, laughing like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. I could have stormed in right then, but something told me to pause. A gut feeling. I pulled out my phone and hit record. I just knew I would need proof. And then she dropped the bombshell. She started talking about how she'd already applied to new places, but she was in no hurry because she was ready to fake this injury for as long as needed.
Why?
Because she was sick of me getting the life that she and her mother had deserved. That's when it clicked. All the pieces fell into place. I quietly slipped out of the house and immediately called my husband, forwarding him the recording right away. He was furious. Absolutely incandescent. He told me he was coming home immediately. Within half an hour, he was there. We decided to confront her together. This was beyond unacceptable. When my husband walked into the room and flat out asked if she was faking her injury, she immediately started denying everything. Her life depended on it. I told her not to lie, and she turned on me, accusing me of trying to ruin her relationship with her dad. I saw that coming, though. So I played the recording. The color drained from her face. She was caught. She sputtered out a few lame excuses before finally admitting the truth. She hadn't twisted her ankle. She'd been fired from her job a couple of weeks prior for insubordination. She'd shown up drunk to work. She knew if she told us, she'd get lectures from her dad, and she wasn't having any of it. She did have rent money for a few months, but she didn't want to waste her resources. So, she decided to move in with a parent. And her mom? Her mom was living with a new boyfriend of 3 months and needed privacy. That's how we found out. Not only was the injury a lie, but her mom being on a work assignment at her grandfather's company was a lie too. They had cooked up this entire story so they could both live with us for free, no questions asked. And the cherry on top? I would be there, at her beck and call, 24/7, to take care of her every need. She was right. We were fools. We'd focused too much on the emotional side, trying to fix things, instead of seeing her for her manipulative behavior. I felt like a total idiot. I had gone out of my way, sacrificed my own sleep and work schedule for this. She started telling us she didn't intend to hurt us. She just needed a place to crash for free and didn't want her father to think she was irresponsible or immature because of how she got fired. And she definitely didn't want him to think badly of her ex-wife for not taking her in. She began apologizing to her father, but he wasn't having any of it. He told her, "If you had come to me with the truth, I would have helped you. Yes, I might have lectured you, but I still would have let you stay. I would have helped you find a new job."
But now?
After that phone call, after hearing her words, there was no chance. She wasn't staying with us. She started begging, pleading, but my husband's mind was made up. I didn't say a word. I couldn't. What she'd said on the phone, that she was sick of me getting the life she and her mother deserved, as if it was my fault her father was happy with me. It cut deep. It was ridiculously stupid, and her bad luck that I overheard it. But it wasn't my fault. I'd just done what I thought was right. Still, after her dad told her she had to leave the next day, she snapped. She started screaming at me. "This is your fault. You're going to be responsible for Dad's downfall when he realizes what a huge mistake he's making by choosing you over his family." That comment, that was it. My temper snapped too. I had tried so hard to be nice, to be helpful, and she had just taken advantage of every single ounce of kindness. I told her I wasn't surprised she and her mother had cooked this up. It was clear to me they were both freeloaders. Lazy. Self-centered. I told her that her mother's indifference to my husband was one thing, but for her, his daughter, to treat him like this? It was appalling. All she cared about was his money, making full use of his generosity, just like her mother. She got mad, accusing me of calling her a gold digger. And I shot back, "You most definitely are. And so is your mom. It's no wonder your father left her. And you know what? I think he should leave you behind too, because clearly you don't value him." I even went further. As long as I'm in his life, I will make sure they never get to take advantage of him again, even if that means making sure he cuts his daughter out of his life forever. I admit, I said it in the heat of the moment. I don't think I really meant it, and it's not like I could actually enforce it. But after that, my stepdaughter just went quiet. She slammed her door for the night. The next morning, before my husband and I were even awake, she was gone. We thought that was the end of the drama. Oh, how naive we were. Now we had to deal with his ex-wife. She's been vindictive ever since the divorce, especially because she didn't get any alimony. She tried to portray herself as a hardworking stay-at-home mom, but she barely lifted a finger. They had a full-time housekeeper that my husband worked overtime to afford, just so his ex-wife wouldn't have to do any work. A good lawyer made sure my husband didn't pour more money down that drain. So, when she heard what I said to her daughter, she lost it. She's been coming after us ever since, demanding I apologize for being nasty. She believes I had no right to say any of it because it's between her daughter and her family, and I'm not part of the family, so I should have just stayed out of it. Not part of the family? I've been married to her ex-husband for 3 years. We've blocked her, but she still finds ways to contact us, relentless in her pursuit of an apology. My husband's feelings about my outburst were a little divided. He agrees with what I said, but not how I said it. Especially that part about making sure he cut his daughter out of his life. He thinks it sounded controlling, even if it wasn't my intention. And I get it. I really do. Update 1 asterisk. A lot of you commented on my post, and thank you for that. I just want to say this. Everyone is sensitive about their kids, no matter how their kids act. My husband is no different. So I don't mind that he's in two minds about what I said. If I were in his shoes, I'd probably feel the same. This isn't a him against me situation. We're both rethinking things right now, figuring out how we dealt with it. So please, don't diss him in the comments. This isn't his fault. Anyway, we finally had a long talk. I told him I might have gone a little too far with that one line, but I wasn't apologizing to anyone. And you know what he said? He completely agreed. After everything that had happened, he didn't think I needed to apologize. In fact, he said his daughter needed to apologize to him, and most importantly, she needed to apologize to me. I was the one who switched my work schedule, went out of my way to be there for her, when he was just going to hire a nurse. And she completely disregarded that. Then he started to break down. He said he was scared. He saw his daughter turning into her mother, spoiled, entitled. He told me he'd tried so hard to make his daughter a good person, but it felt like his ex-wife was undoing all his hard work. He even blamed himself, thinking if he'd spent more time with his family back then, maybe she would have been different. And he wouldn't be dealing with this now. It broke my heart. I truly don't think it's his fault. He was just trying to provide. Otherwise, he would have been the guy dependent on his in-laws, who had already humiliated him with jokes and taunts. He had to work hard so his wife wouldn't have to run to her parents for money. If you ask me, she should have realized that with their income, a certain luxurious lifestyle just wasn't affordable. They were comfortable, but she wanted everything. And she didn't want to work for any of it. Even when he was working himself to the bone to give her what she wanted, she was still ungrateful, demanding his time too. She should have been more understanding. Maybe then, their daughter would have followed suit. Maybe that marriage could have been saved. I told my husband he couldn't hold himself responsible. It was his ex-wife doing all of this, and his daughter was just blindly following. Even now, his ex-wife had the chance to be a good mother, to guide her daughter. But instead, she has these messed up ideas, and she's actively manipulating her. He realizes that after a certain point, his daughter needs to learn for herself. Her mother doesn't have her best interests at heart. She's just using her as a weapon against her ex-husband. It was a bitter pill to swallow, but it was the truth. So, we made a decision. His daughter could either come back to him on her own and apologize, or she could choose to stay with her mother and do whatever she wanted. We knew she probably felt betrayed that her father changed for me and not her mother, but the truth is, I'm very different from her mom. We decided to ignore the ex-wife and her drama for now. There was just no point arguing. Update 2 asterisk. It's been 3 weeks since my last update. And oh, the drama didn't just stop. About 4 days after I posted, my husband's ex-wife showed up at our house, demanding an explanation.
I
opened the door. I told her straight to her face that neither of us wanted to speak to her. But she just ignored me. She pushed past me and started yelling for my husband. That was it. That was the last straw. I started yelling back. She had no right to push me in my own home. She went off about how this was between her and her ex-husband, her family, and I had no right to talk to her, just like I had no right to talk to her daughter. Before my husband could even get to the living room, I was already arguing with her. I told her, "This used to be your house. This used to be your family. But now that I'm married to your ex-husband, I am very much a part of this family. And in case you don't remember, it was me who was taking care of your daughter while she was faking her injury. So yes, I earned the right to say what I wanted, and you are nobody to stop me." That argument would have escalated even further, but my husband finally intervened. He told her to leave. He had nothing to say to her, nothing to hear from her. She started freaking out, screaming about how unfair he was, how his priority should be his daughter, not me. But he just stood there, stone-faced.
didn't respond.
Eventually, she ran out of steam, cursing at us, and left. We weren't really affected by her tantrum. But then she screamed one last thing. "I'm going to make sure you spend the rest of your life without your daughter now. As punishment."
That.
Right there. That literally proved everything I'd been saying all along. She didn't care about her daughter at all. She just wanted to use her as a weapon against her ex-husband, to get back at him. After that interaction, we knew we had to speak to his daughter. We needed to let her know exactly what her mother had just said. We explained to her that she was being used, that her mom was manipulating her for revenge, and out of anger and resentment, she was letting herself be used. I also encouraged my husband to pour his heart out to his daughter. Sometimes kids need to know what their parents have gone through. They need to take off those rose-colored glasses and see them as normal people, not just pedestaled figures. And that's what he did. He talked about his struggles with money with her mother. How he tried, really tried, to make it work, but she was just too unreasonable. He admitted his own fault too, that he spent less time with the family than he should have, and he understood why she felt distant. But he also reminded her that if her mother truly had her best interests at heart, she would never have encouraged her to lie and do such messed up things. He explained that her mom was just trying to manipulate her against him. It was a petty tactic. He basically poured his heart out in that message. Then we waited. Days passed. We almost gave up hope. But then, a couple of days ago, she responded.
She was so sorry.
She apologized for behaving like a brat, for everything she had done. She said she had been feeling incredibly lost ever since the divorce, even though she was a teenager at the time. And the realization that her father had been willing to change for me, but not for her mother, it had made her feel like their family wasn't worth much to him. She acknowledged she'd been feeling lost. And she realized that everything her mother had been telling her to do was wrong. In the past few weeks, she and her mom had actually been fighting a lot over this because she was just so confused. But after reading her dad's message, she felt terribly guilty.
She wanted a second chance.
So, we invited her over for dinner this past weekend to sort it all out, to clear the air. And you know what? Dinner went surprisingly well. She showed up on time, with a huge bouquet of flowers for me and 4 boxes of chocolates. I thought it was a little overboard, but I truly appreciated the gesture. As soon as she walked in, she started apologizing to both of us, profusely. Then she had this tearful, heartbreaking hug with her dad, still apologizing. Even I started tearing up. It was this beautiful family moment. Finally, she started telling us what she'd been going through. Contrary to what we thought, she hadn't actually been living with her mother. Her mom had made it very clear she was living with her boyfriend and needed her privacy. So, my stepdaughter had been crashing with a friend, applying for jobs. She told us she had given a lot of thought to what I had said in the heat of the moment that day. And even though I apologized for being so harsh, she told me I didn't need to. She said every single word I said was true, and that's why it had hurt her so much. When she finally had that realization, she thought about reaching out to us. But her mother absolutely forbade it. That's when she started fighting with her mom, suspecting she was just being used. And after receiving her dad's message, her doubts were confirmed. She decided right then and there that she was going to cut her mom out of her life. It was just too toxic. Besides, she wanted to wholeheartedly make it up to us, and she couldn't do that with her mother still involved, constantly trying to stir the pot and create drama. She even shared that during the divorce, her mother had been actively brainwashing her against her dad. That's why she had been so unhappy when my husband started dating me. But even when she finally started getting along with me, her mother got angry and doubled down, telling her how terrible her father had always been. She manipulated her into believing that their marriage failed because her father didn't value his family and would have rather gone out with other women because he was bored. That's the kind of person her mom made my husband out to be. No wonder it was so easy to manipulate her, especially since her relationship with her dad had already been distant because he was hardly ever around. Her mom took advantage of that distance and pushed them even further apart. Thankfully, they're planning on patching things up. She apologized to me as well, so honestly, there's no bad blood here. She's so much younger than me. I can't even hold this against her now that I know the full story. What would you have done in my position? Have you ever had someone you cared about manipulate you like this? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.